Hey Critical Analysis, this is your Chapter 6 assignment video, although as I have previously mentioned, depending on what order you're watching these videos, I am also going to be talking about your Chapter 1 through 5 vocabulary test in this video, so it kind of is an all-encompassing video at this point. It has your Chapter 6 assignments, but also that 1 through 5 vocabulary test. Alright, so if we go into our submit folder, as always, I have the discussion board first at the top. This is going to be due by Wednesday, July 6th. So keep that in mind because I know this is a holiday week. Some of you may have celebrated on Sunday, some of you celebrated maybe Monday. So just kind of depends when you're watching this video, but the attendance post is still due Wednesday. So we still need to have our attendance post due by Wednesday. And so this is one of those where you might need to watch the lecture video before you're able to fully answer this question because it does directly relate to Chapter 6 content. It says, how does identifying patterns, like compare, contrast, examples, in an author's writing help you understand their message? So again, you may, if you haven't already, want to watch your Chapter 6 lecture video because that is going to kind of illuminate some possible answers for you for this discussion board. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's going to tie directly to Chapter 6 content over patterns of organization. All right, so again, that is due by Wednesday, July 6th. Also, don't forget to be responding to other classmates to get your participation points so that you are still kind of interacting with those people as I keep track of those throughout the semester. All right, so you have your Chapter 6 text and skills sheet right here with the drop box right there. This is due by Sunday the 10th. Let's go ahead and talk about that. All right, so I'm going to scroll up. So this first part is going to be beneficial for you again to watch your lecture video because it is directly related to the patterns of organization content that Chapter 6 covers. And so after you're familiar with the concept of patterns of organization, the text and skill sheet wants you to go to exercise 6.3 on page 304. So I'm going to get to our textbook right here. And you can see, like, as I'm looking at our table of contents, I went right where it says 304. I clicked on it, dropped down, exercise 6.3 is right there. It takes me right to it. And so I am answering questions 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. For some reason, in my hard copy, there's numbers. In the electronic copy, there is not. So you're just going to have to make sure that you go down to, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 8. So just kind of count your way down through there. You are reading your little sentence or two sentences, and then what structure or what pattern is being utilized in that paragraph or those sentences. Again, if you haven't watched the Chapter 6 lecture, that's going to help you with this particular set of questions. So that is what you were doing for part Roman numeral 1, answering those questions. Part 2, A, B, and C all directly connect to your selections. I've already talked about them in the vocabulary video, depending on when you're watching this video. So you may or may not have already read those selections in conjunction with your Chapter 6 vocabulary. If you're watching this video first, you just know that you're going to have to read the selections for your text and skill sheet and for vocabulary purposes. So here's selection number 1. On communications, this is going to talk about managing conflict. And so after you read this selection, you are going to answer your comprehension. Let me scroll down somewhere here. Check your comprehension questions. Here it is right here. You're answering questions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. You can see again what it is they're focusing on. Main ideas, details. So make sure you answer those questions right here after reading the selection on managing conflict. All right, part B, you're going to read the selection. This is, again, depending on what video you're watching in what order, this is the selection on North Americans before Christopher Columbus. So you're going to read this selection if you haven't already done so. And then the actual question is a short answer question. So you have to kind of read through this to be able to answer this short answer question. It says, what did the cultures described in the selection have in common? How were they different? So you're using a comparison contrast structure to answer this question. And so as you scroll through and you can read these, here we have Aztec. You'll scroll down a little bit more and it's going to talk about different societies, Mesoamerican, Mayans, Aztecs again, different cultures. So that's what they mean. What did the cultures in there have in common? and how were they different? And you're answering that in at least 2 sentences. You might need more, that's okay. There's space there underneath as well if you need to extend that. So talk about what they had in common, a couple things they have in common, a couple things that made them a little different. All right, and then part C, last selection, you'll go to selection 3. After you read this one on the dark, kind of with the dark side of consumer behavior, your text and skill sheet asks you to answer questions 1 and 3. I'll show you where these are first. Scroll down here. Right here. True, false. 1 and 3, true, false first under identify organizational patterns. Then under check your comprehension, answering questions 1, 7, 9. So you're going to 2 separate places. So pay attention to that. It's divided that way. So this is true, false right here, and then these are multiple choice. So just kind of keep that in mind as you go through. True, false, questions 1 and 3. Under check your comprehension, questions 1, 7, 9. All right, and that is your text and skill sheet for chapter 6. When you're done with that, you'll go back in here and you will drop it into your Dropbox. All right, your next one is your chapter 6 vocabulary quiz. So if you have not already watched your chapter 6 vocabulary video, you may want to go ahead and do that. I want to point out again, I know we are over halfway through with the vocabulary, but I still am seeing issues with this section right here, okay? This underlined word stays the same. You do not have to substitute any of those words. Now, if you wanted to change fixation to fixated or surveillance to surveil, that's okay, but please do not change these underlined words. The whole point is to make sure that you're able to use these underlined words in the right context. Now, I will also tell you that almost every single time, only one of them is correct. I am still having people write correct 3, 4, or 5 times. That's wrong automatically. If you have the word correct written 5 times, you are way off track. Okay, so almost all of these every time have an issue inside the sentence. You have to do something with the sentence to make it so that the word subsidence or the word fixation or surveillance or whatever it is being used correctly. Inserting the word not or didn't or couldn't or shouldn't is not going to correct the sentence. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit more strict on that now that we're at the tail end of the semester. Part B is short answer. Again, number 1 is not done for you. It's just started. Make sure you answer all the questions. 2, how, like look at those just key questions part of that, and then fill in the blank. Okay. All right, so when you're done with that, you'll put that in the Dropbox. This week, you are also working on the Identifying Patterns of Text Organization Mastery skill. Now, the mastery skills are something that are ongoing. I don't have hard and fast due dates every week other than they have to be done at the end of week 8. If they're not done by the end of week 8 and you don't have all 10 done with an 80% average, you've unfortunately failed the class because you have to have an 80% overall average for the entire course. And if you miss these skills, it's going to drag your grade down. Okay, so just as a reminder though, you can take number 1, do really well on it, and don't worry about post-test 2. Or if you want to boost your score because you didn't do so well in that one, you can then take post-test 2. Okay, keep that in mind. So all of these are set up very similar to ones that you've seen in the past. This is not our first mastery skill. You're going to read through the selections, through the questions, answer them, and make sure that you submit when you're done, and then you'll be able to see your score when it's over. All right, so again, I have these kind of guides to make sure that you're working on these as, oh, it doesn't like that, as you are seeing them in the chapters, because it's easier to just do it at that point. So you are working on the Patterns of Organization Mastery skill this week. All right, the last thing that you are working on for me for this week is your chapter 1 through 5 vocabulary test. So you'll pull this up and you're going to see that it is basically a longer version of your quizzes. So if you haven't already watched the chapter 1 through 5 vocabulary video, you may want to go do that. I just refresh your memory on the words that you'll see on this particular test. So part A, this is short answer. Again, number 1 is not done for you. It just started. Make sure you answer the question. So pay attention to these things like, when would it be a bad idea? Why? Describe 2 incentives. Give 2 examples. Why is this helpful? 2 examples. I can't tell you how many times just easy points are missed because directions weren't followed or maybe only one example was given. Okay, so pay attention to the wording. That's all short answer. Part B, this is that correct or incorrect, okay? And I even tell you in here, 3 of them are correct as written. If you have the word correct written more than 3 times, you know you're on the wrong track. So please make sure that you're only writing that word 3 times. The rest, you need to keep the underlined word in the sentence and change the sentence somehow. Take out some words, put in some words, rework it all together, whatever you need to do to make sure that you're using the word appropriately in context. And then part C is just fill in the blank. You will not use all of these words. There's a word bank. Go ahead and fill them in. Reread it to yourself to make sure it makes sense. When you're done, put it in that drop box right there. The only other thing I wanted to point out is in week 5, you do have an optional practice that directly relates to the chapter 6 content, is patterns of organization practice. You can open that up and you can see it's just a real quick sheet right here. If you wanted to try it, send it to me and I can give you some feedback on how you did. All right, if you have any questions on anything over this week or anything in general for the class, let me know. Bye.